Are we all ready to admit that autumn is our favourite season? I think we're ready. And Pinterest predicted right at the beginning of the year that the rom-com aesthetic was going to be absolutely huge for 2023, and autumn just feels to me where it peaks into perfection, where we are walking through the park, kicking the leaves, we've got a little beret or a bowler hat on, we like going to a bookstore, and there's always a gap where we can just about see somebody really hot the other side. I know you've made a mental note to watch When Harry Met Sally as soon as I mentioned the autumn vibes of the rom-com, and it is the perfect place to look for these whimsical rom-com styled names. These names are beautiful, they're so evocative, they do have main character energy, but they're quirky. They're wearing a turtleneck, they've got a long scarf, they get a little bit of mustard just there because, you know, they're goofy and that's why we love them. So these names are autumn whimsical. I have 20 names you're gonna fall for. I just thought of that. Keep watching. So the first name was only given to 12 baby girls last year. I cannot believe it. It is a crime because it is the name Marigold. Marigold has such charm, such main character energy. The nickname Goldie, we're seeing actually, maybe I'm seeing that more than marigolds. Marigolds are actually the flower for October. So if you're having an October baby, they have that real vibrant, warm bouquet of colours as well. And they represent a really lovely thing, which is the power of the sun, which I absolutely love. And I feel like in autumn, like when you're out and it's a sunny day and you can wrap up all cozy, it's like the best feeling. If I have to wear a hat and sunglasses, I'm at my happiest. If you ever see me in a hat and sunglasses, just know I'm living my best life. and I'm pretending that my name is Marigold. I might start giving that as my Starbucks name. I just think this name is so perfect. It is unreal that there are hardly any marigolds. I know that we have marigold gloves here in the UK, which aren't lovely gloves, they're the washing up gloves. So I wonder if for some people they're thinking of marigolds, but who are those people? And let them have that, because I would be so after calling my daughter Marigold. The next name is a vintage nickname as first name that no one's caught on to yet, and it's the name Gertie. So I love it. How much has it made you smile? It is so vintage. We think of E.T., we think of that cute little girl in her bowler hat, but I just think for this rom-com vibe, Gertie is quirky as. She's bookish, she's playful, she's indie, she's so cool, and you just want to hang out with a Gertie. It is short for Gertrude. There were no Gerties at all last year, but there were 3 Gertrudes, so I'm sure we're very happily skipping around at playgroup being the only Gertrudes and going by Gertie. I just think it's so pretty, and Bertie all up over the charts. Why not Gertie? How about Cheska? So Cheska is a short name for Francesca, which I also do really like Francesca, and it comes from Frank as well, and all of those names I've told you before, it comes from the Frank tribe, which I always find the most interesting because they mean to be free and free to speak your truth, which is always the pinnacle of the rom-com. Right at the end, they finally get to say how they feel, which we've all been screaming for like an hour and a half, but loving it anyway. And the reason was, that's why we say to be frank. So to be frank with you is because to speak freely to you. So Cheska is really cool. I feel like it is so autumnal because I think of like chestnuts and those autumn colours. It's just such an evocative name, and I think it's a real main character energy name as well, because it's absolutely unranked at the moment just as a name by itself. So I think it's a beautiful name, and it's got a lot of class to it as well. How about the name Valley? So this is a really strong nature name, but I also feel it's got a bit of that American university sounds to it as well to me, but it actually means healthy, which I think is so lovely, because I do get that vibe in autumn of that being outdoors. It's a time when we can feel really healthy, when we're taking so many walks and spending so much more time in nature, because there's so many walks and things like that that we're encouraged to go out and do. So it's a really beautiful name, and there were 6 baby girls named Valley last year, and that is all. And I really like this spelling. I love the name Solene. Isn't it pretty, Solene? It's so pretty because it's got soul, of course, it's so lovely, but it actually means sunlight. And I love that, so it's really beautiful. Whereas summer is so summer, I think, oh, like Solene is so autumn because it's got that real warmth to it and that kind of deeper reflective almost time is how I see Soline, and it just got a really radiant vibe to it. So if you like those kind of spiritual sided names, I feel like that's really evident in it because of soul being there, but it makes it a really wearable name, and it's totally unranked at the moment as well. October's birthstone is actually Opal. And I know it's one of our absolute favourite names here as a community. We absolutely love it, but there were only 31 babies named Opal last year. I'm seeing it in a lot of middle spots. I feel like people aren't brave enough for Opal, which I don't understand because it is so beautiful, and we have Olivia so high up. Opal feels like a really easy bounce on from it. I just love the birthstone meaning as well because it means amplification, higher hope and divine purity. So it's a really beautiful symbol, and I always think that's so nice to have a gemstone name, and particularly of your birthstone. But either side of October, it's a beautiful, beautiful name, a beautiful gemstone, and it also is supposed to help with clarity. So apparently Queen Victoria gave her 5 daughters an opal on their wedding day to help them like be clear and think clearly and do the right thing. So it's really interesting. Bit of history as well, powerful symbol for so many people, and I think the name is gorgeous. I think it is totally quirky rom-com vibes. Opal, it's like serendipity, remember that? Opal would definitely make him go on some humongous wild goose chase to find her again. That's what she would do. She'd be in the crystal shop and she'd like, I don't know, she'd spell out her name with like, so he'd have to figure it all out and then he'd have to find her at the end. So somebody can write that movie if you want. Give me some credit. Gender neutral name, but the name Dayton, I just really like it. I feel like it's so playful. This is definitely a quirky rom-com main character girl, Dayton. So pretty, D-A-Y-T-O-N. It actually means from the bright and sunny town, which is so cool. Like I'm totally seeing this autumn New York style rom-com playing in my head when I'm writing this list. So it is a boy name originally, so there are a few boys called Dayton, but I think it totally works for girls. Like we're seeing Finley, we're seeing Noah, we're seeing Dylan come up for girls. I think Dayton is even potentially sounds more feminine to me, and I really, really like it. I also feel like we love Delilah, one of the fastest rising names for the year, and I feel like Dayton could really fit alongside. It even sits alongside like a Margot. It's got a lot of the same sort of sounds to it. But I really think it might appeal to so many of you who are looking for a really rare gender neutral gem. And I love finding those for you. How about Jura? Jura is so lovely. It actually means autumn rain. You know they're going to be kissing out in the rain, and I just think the name is so beautiful, Jura. It's so underused as well. I think it'd be a lovely way to honour a Sarah or a Joanne and things like that. There's lots of names that you could say, you know, we're bringing in the Jura with it. There were 9 boys called Jura last year and 5 boys with the spelling without the H. So again, it's more of a masculine names. You could use it for either. I just think it's beautiful for either boy or girl, and a really lovely understated but pretty name that has that sort of second glance to it. Twyla, she's in the rom-com. Come on, Twyla. Not the goofy sidekick. In an autumn rom-com, you're front and centre, and I think Twyla is so lovely. It actually means light in dark places, so it's super autumnal because it just puts me straight into like putting the candle on, putting the fire on, and kind of creating that little cosy hygge space. Hygge, that is the Scandinavian for cozy, in case you think I was just coughing something up. So I absolutely love the name Twilight. It's so pretty. It makes me think of Twilight, which makes it so whimsical, and I really wanted to bring a really whimsy vibe to this list because it's our fave. It's our fave. I just love it. I think it's super playful. I think it is super pretty, and there's no one called Twyla. No one's being called Twyla. So you would have a totally rare name that everyone can say and everyone loves. Crazy, hey? Caspia is so lovely, and Caspia is a lavender flower. It's a new one to me, a new flower name. Can you imagine how many times I've researched flower names since I've been doing this list, and Caspia, totally new to me, and I was like, I absolutely love it. So it's this beautiful lavender flower. I often see it dried, so it's used all throughout the year by florists, including in autumn. And it's a sign of achievement or success. So if somebody achieves something, so it's got that kind of bookish vibe to it as well, I think, that university romance type of thing. So you could give them this beautiful Caspia. But isn't that a beautiful name? We've talked about Caspian so many times, the Caspian Sea, we were Casper, and then I've never heard of Caspia, and I absolutely love it. I like Saskia, but I actually prefer Caspia. It's got that sort of gentleness to it. What do you reckon? pop it on your name list or let me know below what you think and if you've heard of it. And my last one for girls is the name Amaris. So you might say Amaris as well. I think that'd be totally up to you. I've heard lots of pronunciations both ways online. So it's a gorgeous, gorgeous name. It actually means child of the moon, which is so stunning. In October and in autumn, we have the harvest moon. We have 2 moons. Just this weekend, we had the equinox, and it's a really big moon time. As you can tell, I know a lot about moons today. But it's a very moon time. And that harvest moon, guys. So for their birthday, for Amaris, it would always be really, really lovely that she was the child of the moon and she could feel really, really drawn to the moon because it's a big moon season. Let me know if you know more about the moon below. Normally I do know a lot about the moon, it's just gone from my head, but I love the name so much. It sounds so beautiful as well, so romantic. It is totally rom-com to the core. So taking inspo from the moon again, how about the name Cosmo? I love the name Cosmo for boys. I love it for girls as well, but I just think it is so cool, and I think it's just got that sort of scholarly side to it as well. Cosmo, it sounds definitely a guy up my street. Harvest moon in October, we just talked about. There's 2 moons and an equinox in the month as well, so it's a really nice time to, like we just said, be linked to the moon. But also cosmos is the flower of October. So October has 2 flowers. It has 2 of everything, actually 2 gemstones as well. So it's got the marigold and it's got a flower called cosmos. Another new flower name to me, guys. So it means order in chaos, cosmos. So trying to bring order into what can look quite chaotic, which is totally rom-com as well. But the petals on the cosmos flower are perfectly ordered. So that's why they're called a cosmos. So it's got tick, 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 ticks for being a whimsical autumn baby boy name. Beckett, I love the name Beckett. It's surname as first name, which is very much part of the movies, but also very, very high trend of the year. And it means bee cottage. So it's just totally something out of the holiday. You know, it's totally, absolutely gorgeous. There's also Samuel Beckett, who we know for being a playwright and a poet. So it's got that sort of real lovely literary angle to it as well. It just sounds really strong and really solid and warm at the same time. There were 8 boys called Beckett last year. Hartford, I absolutely love this name, Hartford, but Hart refers to deer and deers in the woods, and ford is a shallow place where animals can cross. So it's kind of like a shallow bit of the river where deers cross over. So it just feels so autumn. Like if you're in the UK, how much time do you go to like Bushy Park, Richmond Park, all of our royal parks, and they have the beautiful deer roaming around. And October's actually their rutting season, is in autumn. So the deer's rutting season is actually in autumn as well. So when you see the young males. So it's a really, really lovely name. And I've just not heard it before. And I loved Roscoe for so long, which means about deer forest as well. But I thought that Hartford just sounds even stronger. And obviously with heart for rom-com, we gotta be in there. I love this name. How about the name Zephyr? So Zephyr means a gentle wind, a gentle breeze, which is just one of the most beautiful name meanings, I think. And I love the look of the name as well. I just think it's so gorgeous. And it also has a second meaning, which is a gingham fabric. I was like, how can it have such 2 perfect autumn meanings? Like a gingham tablecloth is like where I'm at right now. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful name. So in Greek mythology, Zephyr was a brother to Iris, or sometimes a husband to Iris. And there was also this story around where Apollo and Zephyr fought over the affections of another male who was called Hyacinth. But I love the name Hyacinth. So that's really interesting. So it's a really, really beautiful name and just perfectly fits that sort of autumn breeze. You could have a Zephyr and a Jura and you would be very smug about that. Calyx, I love the name Calyx. It actually means husk or pod, and it's the part of the plant at the bottom that holds up the flower, and its role is to protect the flower when it's a bud. So it's a super beautiful name, so wearable. There's no one using it with the YX, which is how I really like it. And I'm not normally one for changing letters, but I've always seen it as Calyx, but with the IX, there were 6 boys called Calyx last year, so maybe people prefer that. Let me know what you prefer. I just think it's really lovely. It's got that really protective quality. It's got that sort of standout main character energy with it sounding a bit like Alex, but being stronger, and with the X. I just think at this time of year, when the flowers need that little bit of protection, it's a really lovely autumn feeling of like cozying up as well. Heath, The name Heath is at number 503 in the charts. So of course we know it from Heath Ledger. We know Heath is a huge outdoor meadow or a moor, and I've always loved this name. It was on one of my really early nature name lists. I just thought it was such an evocative name and one that's sort of really underused and really, really strong and beautiful. And of course you think about Heathcliff and you think about the Kate Bush song about Wuthering Heights as well, but I don't know if you'd be brave enough to go with Heathcliff. I think it's probably still a bit out there. Heath is only at 500, but a beautiful name, short and strong, really, really main character energy, which is so on trend at the moment. This next name, you'll be surprised, I think, about what it means. It's the name Kiefer. No one is using the name Kiefer. We all know it from Kiefer Sutherland, but it is totally out of use, and I ended up in this like rabbit hole about Kiefer Sutherland, and when Julia Roberts like ran away from their wedding, I didn't know any of that. So anyway, and now I know a lot about Kiefer Sutherland, more than I know about memes. That's what I was spending my time on, sorry. But Kiefer, I love it, and it means pine tree. So it's so perfect as an autumn name, Kiefer, and I love the name. It's just so trendy and so rare. Super, super cool. Obviously it's a tree name, and the pine meaning symbolises a long life and good virtues. So who wouldn't want that as a symbol? And I just think it's got such a beautiful sound to it. I feel like some of you might really, really like it. For your little boy, I think it would hit my list because I love it. You know I love an F sound. Could have gone wrong. Keats, I love the name Keats, Anglo-Saxon name, so poetic because you think of John Keats, who wrote Ode to a Nightingale. I called it Ode to a Swan last week. When we were talking about Odin, I think is a name, or Otto, but yes, Ode to a Nightingale, and I thought I'll rectify that this week with the name Keats. I love it. It sounds, anything with an S on the end, you know, I think sounds really elevated as a short first name. Keats actually means worker in the shed, who works out with the horses, you know, out with the animals, and just a really cool, strong name that people would be really jealous of. And Kit is actually getting very, very popular. One of the ones on the rise, which we talked about last week, if you want to go back and watch that. So Keats could keep you a little bit rarer and on your own path, which I know you're after. Miller, I love this name, boy or girl. It means one who grains the harvest. So really perfect for this harvest moon and this time of year. And I just think Miller again has a beautiful sound for boy or girl as a strong, independent first name. And my last one is the name Knox, K-N-O-X. I thought, I put Equinox first as my wild card, and I thought you could go with Equinox, but maybe it is just too much of a mouthful. So maybe Knox, or Equinox, who goes by Knox, then you've got that option. There were 21 boys named Knox last year, so not that many, and it actually means rounded topped hill, but I feel like with the feeling of equinox as well, makes it much more right for this time of year and this autumn. And you can so see like this main character energy of the name Knox, because it's so short and sweet with the X as well. I think it's actually more popular in America. If you're watching this from America, let me know. I did look up, I think there was around around number 200 in America, so a lot higher, but over here it's much lower down. I have some facts I just found about the moon right at the bottom of my list. At this time, the moon appears particularly bright and rises early, letting farmers continue harvesting into the night. So I hope you're feeling cozy. I hope you've added some new names to your list. What did you think of this whimsical autumnal name theme? I have a really exciting collab coming up soon with Names by Steph on TikTok. If you follow her, she's American, and we're also going to be putting our heads together on some more autumn names. So I will let you know when that comes out, and follow us both over on TikTok. I will leave that link below. And I hope that you added some names. I hope you loved this vibe, because I loved it so much. How much are you waiting to watch a movie now tonight with like a hot chocolate or something? Let's do it together. I will if you will. Bye guys.